Well, hello, my fellow War Thunder pilots. My name is Brandon, and welcome to another one of my War Thunder videos. This is going to be my second one, so let's just get started here. I want to talk about a plane that a lot of people don't know about, and I was looking through the release tree on the German side for War Thunder planes to be released, and there's something on there called the 229. Now, a lot of people don't know about this, but I'm just going to give you some backdrop on the history of it. Well, towards the end of the war, deep inside Germany, there was a new type of jet that was being produced, and the name of this jet was the Horten 229. Now, this is one of the most exotic planes that was ever seen in the course of the war that was, so to say, discovered. And it was discovered by the U.S. Third Army, who was just basically ravaging the countryside looking for a secret weapon that Hitler may have had. And they discovered the 229 in the middle of this wooded area 100 miles north of Frankfurt in Germany. And when they discovered this thing, they noticed that the jet was completely made out of wood. Now imagine not knowing anything about jets or anything of the kind and going into a, say, secret warehouse and discovering a winged jet. Now, the Horten 229 was the first wing-powered jet, I guess you could say. It's basically a really small version of the B-2 stealth bomber. Now, a lot of people don't know that the Germans were actually working on stealth capabilities for their fighters. Now, during the Battle of Great Britain, there was a big problem with German fighters being spotted right away. And there was a guy named Hermann Göring that said that Germany needs better planes, they need to be better equipped, they need better performance, just all around better planes for them. And the real problem was, it wasn't the planes, it was the radar that was picking up on them in, just an instant. So by the time that the Germans were already soaring, the British already had an onslaught of planes coming at them. Now, the brothers of the Horton project, or the Horten 229, there's two brothers that designed it. Their names were Walter and Raimur Horten. Now, Walter had this burning passion to get back at the British. It was because he lost a lot of friends during the war, and one of his good friends, or it might have been brothers, died because he's setting up landmines on the front, and basically something happened and he ended up getting killed by his own landmine. Kind of sad. But when designing this plane, they had no history of ever studying aviation. It was all basically self-taught. So they started testing the winged model of a jet in prop form, except they made it with, it had like props and it was a glider. That was basically Mark 1 of this thing. They just practiced using gliders, testing and flying them. And then they heard that Germany was in need of a fighter with all these capabilities. And these capabilities were called the 3x1000, laid out by Hermann Göring. It was basically a fighter that could fly 1,000 kilometers an hour. It could fly a distance of 1,000 kilometers and deliver a 1,000 kilo bomb on target. And they ended up going to Göring and basically laying their plans out to him. And Göring was very optimistic. The way the thing looked, there's nothing like it. It had no tail. And that's what I mean by winged. It just absolutely had no tail. It was just flat, just like the B-2 stealth bomber. Now, Göring was very optimistic about this, of course, being as no one has ever seen anything like this before. So they eventually drew him in. Walter drew him in, and they ended up getting a contract with the Germans, creating or trying to create the first stealth fighter, basically. At the time, I don't know if they thought it was stealth, but apparently the wood was supposed to absorb and deflect most of the radar. But the war was about to enter the sixth year, of course, and Hitler was starting to get desperate. And the brothers were near completion of the first one. I think it was towards the end of 1944 that they first completed their first 229. But before that, Hitler started getting really antsy. He needed a bomber, an intercontinental bomber, and then enters the Horten 18. The Horten 18 is basically a larger version of the Horten 229, which was supposed to carry a nuke to the U.S., either New York or somewhere in there. And a lot of Hitler's people said they could have a nuke out by 1946, but like a lot of us know, this wasn't the Manhattan Project. They weren't as well equipped as we were with the U.S.'s atomic bomb. I should say but but yeah, by the fall of 1944, they ended up nearly completing the first 229. And this is when a test pilot named Erwin Ziller takes off for the first time in this thing. Now, Ziller is a well-known test pilot. He has performed many tests on other German top-secret planes. And Ziller ends up flying this thing for, I think it was around 2 to 3 months. And he gets much time in it. And during this time, he ends up testing it in dogfights and so on. And what he notices, as you can see in my video on dogfighting here, and not dogfighting, but going bomber hunting in a 262. But what Ziller knows and sees is that this thing outperforms the 262 in every way. It's one of the best planes that he's ever seen. But nearing his 3rd month of flying this thing, after his test piloting with the dogfighting, his right engine blows up over the airfield, just completely blows out, and he basically drives that thing into the ground just like a yard dart. It just goes right in there, and it kills Ziller exactly 3 months after his first test flight. But the real question is this thing actually stealth capable? Now, there was a group of scientists 60 years later, this is fairly recent, that conducted tests on this thing to see if it actually had stealth capabilities. And what they found was very astonishing. The Germans actually created the very first stealth plane. It had a 20% reduction rate in being seen on the radar from Germany to Britain, I believe it was, for the radar that they had set up. Now, on the way over, it has a 20% reduction rate, but this means that in the time that it would get spotted, it would already be on their doorstep, basically. But what it would take for a regular German fighter, it would take only just a fraction of the time for the 229. So this would have had a tremendous difference in the war if Germany would have played it smart and would have got these things out there in time. They were easier to produce than most things because they're made out of wood, and the one thing that was different about them was they had a different, they had a kind of upgraded engine from the 262, but it wasn't reliable, so that's what caused Erwin Ziller's death. But that is fairly astonishing that the Germans had a stealth-capable fighter, and I just wanted to give you guys some of the insight on that because the 229 will be released in War Thunder sooner or later. I saw it on the release tree, so I found that kind of interesting. But drop your like if you want to, and tell me guys what you think in the comments of the 229 if it releases, and the blueprint version of the Horten 18 if that ever releases, but I doubt that will. But tell me what you guys think in the comments, and I hope you like this video on the insight on the 229 and the 18. So thanks for watching guys, my name is Brandon, and hope you enjoyed.